I'm waiting at the bus stop on my way to the Omoling temple, where I'm going to be leading the morning meditation session. So it's about 7 o'clock on Saturday, and I have no idea when the bus comes. This is one of those schedules that it's any time in the next 45 minutes, even though I have one of those transit apps that tell me it's entirely unreliable. So somewhere down the street behind me, down there will be a bus sometime in the next 25 minutes. And it will get me there sometime around 8. I'm going to record bits and pieces for my weekend. I'll try something different this week. Out and about. I've got some work that I'm trying to do this weekend. I've got a piece I need to finish. 2 pieces I need to finish. One of them is editing a piano piece, and when I get back from this meditation session, I'm going to spend some time cleaning that score. I just have to finish it. Just have to finish it this weekend. I finished the piece before the new year. I mostly finished it. But there's a lot of garbage that gets skipped over. Some basic stuff like making sure that the accidentals are correct, making sure the score is readable. But there's an interesting overlap between like score proofreading and kind of learning the piece and making sure that it's right. And I'm going to finish that today. I've got 2 hours allocated, and I'm just going to, whatever it is, in 2 hours, that is the piece. It's flawed, it's incomplete, but it is what it will be. And then tomorrow afternoon, I have a little bit longer allocated, but I want to write a piece, a bridal march. A young woman and her beau, her fiancé, are getting married next month, and there was some discussion about what music she would walk down the aisle. And I thought I would write something and see if she liked it. She may not. But that's okay, I'm going to write it anyway. I've got some ideas, some chords that I think are going to be nice, and I'm going to spend tomorrow afternoon doing that. And I'll bring you along for the journey. This afternoon, exciting, is the Eurovision Song Contest. So Catherine and I are watching that. Anyway, I'm just waiting for the bus, and I'm listening to Zach Bryan, which is an album that my daughter introduced me to. One song on there, which I can't remember what it's called, but I really liked it. And now Spotify said, why don't you listen to the whole album? And I just heard a poem called Fear and Fridays that he wrote. It's good. I like it. I'm going to listen to the rest of the album now. So I'll see you after meditation. All right, so I've made it to the temple, and I'm going to put on some coffee. I have a little Keurig thing here. I don't really care for Keurig. A little treat, Dunkin' Donuts. So I teach the sort of meditation basics on the Saturday mornings, and really focus on the pose. Some of the videos I've done on this channel, where I really highlight like the direction of the pose towards a really formal posture, is just that. It's a direction, right? It's a guideline, and what we're really trying to do is create a pose that is stable, balanced, and alert, right? The balance is between alertness and tension, and comfort and collapse. It's going to be nicely posed. And then from there, the mind can sort of settle into the body, and we start to notice our distraction. We start to become aware of natural state. But particularly in the beginning, the focus on that pose as a source of refuge itself. It's really important, I think. We also have these little things here. I don't use this at home. It's just a little something that I do here on a Saturday. That looks gross. Anyway, get my iPad set up because actually most of the people that are regular are on Zoom. I know there was a headline here that the Dutch Eurovision entry just got disqualified. What's that all about? Well, I'll have to look into that before the afternoon so that Catherine and I are up to date. Some years I spend a lot of time getting ready for Eurovision. Like I follow all of the national contests. I haven't done any of that this year. It astonishes me that I can just sit and watch it here in the United States. When we moved to America when I was a teenager, there was no internet. And there was no way that I knew of to watch the Eurovision. And then in 2012, I don't know that it was broadcast, but you could find it on YouTube afterwards. That's when Azerbaijan won. I loved that song. Anyway, coffee. And I'm waiting for the bus home. I think I've got a 10 or 15 minute wait. This bus seems to be a bit more reliable on the way home. There's one about 10 o'clock heading back in. And I'm just running through what I'm going to do. When I get home, I'm going to make some tea and I'm going to jump right into my editing. My tendency is to get back and lay on the couch and listen to podcasts. I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to get back and get to work so that I have my couple hours from 11 to 1 for editing. And then at 1 o'clock, I'm going to say I'm done. I'm just going to say I'm done. Done with that piece. And so by the end of the weekend here, I should have it up on my website. I'm recording this because actually what I did, we ended a few minutes early. There were only a handful of people, so we have fewer questions than normal. And what I did was record a video. You know, I have on my channel some meditation content, and I thought what I recorded was a video on what do I like to say on day one when someone new comes in? Because I realized that it's not a script, but there are some points that I think are really important. And that's all they are. They're things I think are important. But, so I recorded them. And that video may even be up already. Certainly by the time this is out, that video will be up there. So I'm kind of enjoying this daily vlogging style. I should do it more often. It's pretty. I am. All right. So the piece. See me anywhere. The piece is called Rotating Desirous Only of You. And it's a sexy ass piece. For piano. I use 4 score. And here we go. So it's in 7/8. 1, 2, 3. I don't want to be in low power mode. That's going to bug the fuck out of me. Okay, low power mode. Take that out. There we go. And I'm also I'm going to turn on my iRig. Not because I need it for this, but because I need to get better at using this. Right? It works really well if I'm positioned right. And I have to be wearing shoes. Right, my left foot is switching back and forth. There we go. I need to get really good at where that is. When I do it, when I'm barefoot, which is most of the time at home, it doesn't work. My foot is too soft. So, let me just. So these chords have to be played like, but I can't quite play them that. So it's like. Piano's out of tune because it's recently restored. These strings are brand new, like 3 months old. So they've been tuned once, but they're going to be tuned again in a few weeks. When strings are new, like with any instrument, they go in and out pretty quickly. So those are the right notes, and I'm not going to fuss about getting it at tempo. So this is the kind of thing I need to fix, because that shouldn't be that upbeat shouldn't be there. I only have that. That's a copy paste error. As I practice it, I need to be very clear on what's the 8th note and what's the 16th note, right? Those are the nuances that actually are surprisingly different from being a composer to being a performer, right? So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, That's a very characteristic aspect of this piece. This is thirds, octaves. That comes throughout the piece. This arrangement, not always just of thirds, sometimes just. this. Is that right? Because then we move into the second section. So this piece is very narrative. Without putting too much on it, I'm very... Go away, Siri. Hey Siri, go away.
Okay.
I'm very influenced by Kreisleriana writing this piece. Kreisleriana is one of those Everest pieces that I really I'm working on. And what I like about it is that, well, I just like it. Let's see if you voice it like that. So I'm voicing it. There. Is that right? Yeah. I wonder why I didn't. I guess because it's just the one note, right? Okay. Then this section is another kind of the original. There's a right that's going to be nice, right? Fades away, and then changes character. Some dynamics, but I also don't know what they would be, so I'm not going to put any. Version of the opening. This was a big decision I made because originally there are 3 versions of that opening gesture, and at first I have them 1, 2, 3, and then the rest of the piece. What I've done here in a much more satisfying way is interspersed them throughout, so there's a sense of recapitulation. But each time it comes back in a slightly more augmented harmony and a little bit more, it's a bit more, everything is a bit more. I'm not going to change it. This measure here, where it's I kind of wanted to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need to do that. That's a pity because that means all my measures are going to be fucked up from here. All my measures are going to be fucked up. I'm going to have to do a bunch of respacing, but these need to be longer in everywhere where that gesture begins. That's the right thing to do. Then I start zooming. All right, that was the mail. And I got some stuff. A vinyl record. Which one is it? Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. Golden Apples of the Sun. Silver Apples of the Moon, of course, Martin Subotnick. I am so looking forward to hearing this. Of course, I get to listen to it on Spotify, but where's the fun in that? There's no fun in that. I'll do a review of that when I've had a chance to listen to it. And then this, I think, is I know, get a scissors. Not who I am. Sacrifice. So this is fantastic. This is a graphic realization of La Recherche du Tombeau de Proust, and I went ahead and tried to find as many of these as I could. Hey Siri, fuck off and go away. So this is tricky because this is where I do move between octaves. This is heavy and I want it to come right in. Right in to the next one on this one. A lot of these I have big pauses implied between the sections, but here I want it to be yeah. Alright, so I think I want that to be this to end up being like the end of Children's Corner, the Debussy. Yeah, that should be B flat. skimming through this because I literally spent like 2 hours earlier in the week going through this. So I'm pretty confident in that, so I just went through it all. Then this, same with this one. I had some weird notation on this one when I was trying to do. Those measures are right. So they're voicing within a cluster. It's kind of like, I don't know what it's like. Okay, so obviously what happened there is the battery ran out on my phone with about 20 minutes to go. If I look, I was getting towards the end of the piece. So it's 12:30 and I finished. I finished the read through, right? The whole point of that was to play through, really looking at the score, not just fucking around. Do I agree with everything that was notated? And you'll see that even in this final read through, I changed some pitches because voice leading is important to me, and I don't like what feels inconsistent. In that piece, I play with that because I have melodies that are in parallel, but they'll be parallel seventh and then shift to parallel octaves. And I like that, but there were a few places where what I don't like is, let me see if I can balance this. Hang on. I don't like it when I'm playing and then the thumb hits the same note. And the only reason that it does that is because I wasn't thinking of the voice leading. And usually what that means is I just need to adjust one of the notes and I get the sound I really thought. But that's what notation is, right? It's sort of an increasingly refined version of what I think. And it's not like I'm sitting there with a piece finished in my mind, right? If you've ever read George Saunders when he talks about writing, I learned so much from his book and his Substack, where he talks about approaching what you've done and seeing what he wants to do. Maybe in the case of a musical melody, it needs to be a little bit longer, or maybe it needs to be repeated. Maybe it needs to be cut into two, and I have two sections, and then maybe you realize those two sections don't belong next to each other. They belong separated by something. And at first, these are very large, gross edits, like pages at a time, ideas at a time, things excised completely, things added in. But at a certain point, that stops, and you get to where I was today, which is, do I need to add a courtesy accidental to make sure everybody plays the right harmony? And then it's done, and then now it's done, right? That point of saying it's done, tricky, right? Tricky, but this is done. The bits that I thought are weak they still sound kind of weak, but I'm not going to take them out. They're not weak enough that I don't want them there. And this piece is all right. I like it. I'm going to play it. I'm going to rehearse it, practice it, record it, put it on a house concert. It's part of the body of work that I like, right? I like it. Bit of a late start this morning. But it's Sunday morning, so let's see, I've got a bunch of things I want to do today. I'm going to drink my coffee and finish reading a book. It's about 6:30 right now, so I'm going to go to church, which I leave for 10:30. Now, I want to take the dogs for a walk, and I think I'm going to do that before then. I think I'm going to leave here at around 9. Take the dogs out for a walk for 45 minutes. Then get back from church, it'll be about 12:30. And then I'm going to work on the Bride March piece, Rose's Bride March. And work on that from 1 until 4. Then at 4, I'm going to do my other core exercises. 4 to 5, I'll make some dinner. And then the evening, I'm going to take the edits that I made yesterday on my iPad, and I'm going to enter them. I'm going to update the score, which I hope doesn't take too long, because I also want to edit all this down. Right? So after dinner, take a couple hours on the laptop, do a bunch of, work like that. That's my plan. There's no reason why I shouldn't stick to it, except that I have a tendency on Sundays to let things sort of get a bit amorphous. I don't want to do that today. It's a nice morning out. It's a little chilly. End of May. All right, so I'm going to make a cup of tea while the water boils. I thought I would talk about this book. All right, this is the book I mentioned earlier I was going to finish today. I had a few chapters left, and about Emerson. I'm very interested in Emerson, but I know very little beyond sort of what everybody knows. I had listened to this book on Audible and loved it. So much so that I thought I would buy it so I could read through it and mark it up. But I found, even through the first, 7/8, I wasn't really grooving. It seemed a bit quotey from Emerson, just like quote after quote after quote with sort of briefly connecting statements, and not very personable from the writer, which is weird because when I heard the audiobook, I was captivated, right? So then I was really just going to kind of slog through it this morning and finish it. But what I found as I was reading it Sunday morning, kind of early, I had coffee, I was listening to some music, and I just, all of a sudden, you can see I've started folding over pages and marking up sections which I do in my books. That's how I read, as I mark things up. And the only thing that changed was me. Reading in the evening as I'm in bed, I've always done that. But obviously I wasn't paying attention. Because now as I was open to it, some of these sections are just extraordinary. I'm going to read through a few of the ones that I highlighted. But let me just get my tea ready here. And let me adjust the camera so you can see me make the tea, because that's what's important here. This is loose leaf BG tips. which I allowed through for only a minute or two. And I do put milk in my tea. I don't usually put sugar in. So while that's brewing, let me go through the first of these. Waldo's spirit was intact, though his heart was split open. It's Sunday. He explored this paradox in his journal. This is now Emerson. So it is with this calamity. It does not touch me, something which I fancied was a part of me, which could not be torn away without tearing me, nor enlarged without enriching me. That's his son, and the love for his son falls off from me and leaves no scar. So then Mark Matusek, I really like. I want to find more from him. How is this possible, we ask ourselves? To understand this paradox, it's necessary to make a clear distinction between emotional and spiritual reality. If I was to summarize how this is, the emotional ear may hear this as callous, but the spirit knows that Waldo is speaking the truth. His equanimity did not reflect a flaw in his fatherly love. Instead, it was a truthful confession of spiritual awakening after terrible loss. In the death of my son, I seem to have lost a beautiful estate. No more. I cannot get it nearer to me. This idea that even our deepest tragedy, our greatest loss, is part of, but not definitive of, our broader self. And this is kind of what I want to get into with Emerson, is what did he really mean by the oversoul? My tendency is to think that I can apply my study and practice with Buddhism, and Buddhism speaks of the natural state. And the natural state is distinct from the emotional layers, but not separate from, distinct from, but not separate from. If that makes sense. One is a manifestation of the other. But this idea that our loss, our joy, does not shake our impermeable sense of being, pretty wonderful. Here, another area here. Let me put some milk in my tea. Milk, tea. So my tea is on the weaker, milkier side. And that is delicious. One of the other ideas that I highlighted here was what Emerson meant by reason. And it makes a good point here. Mark Matusek points that when we say reason today, we're probably thinking of the scientific analytical method, a very materialist interpretation. Reason and logic against whatever, intuition, emotion, New Age kerfuffle. But what he suggests here, the ancients, the Stoics, so that's the title of the Stoics, and Waldo. I like that he calls him Waldo. I guess that's what Emerson liked to be called. I don't know. My dogs are called Baron and Issel. Issel is Isildur. They're Tolkien characters. But I would kind of like to have dogs called Waldo and Socrates. Anyway, the ancients, and Waldo too, defined reason differently than we do today. In their understanding, reason relates not only to the analytical thought, but also to the capacity to observe our lives from the witness perspective. This awareness makes it possible to reflect upon experience, optimize conditions with self-knowledge, find meaning in our existence, and strengthen spiritual awareness through targeted practice. So in the same way that I think science can really be interpreted in a much broader way than simply the scientific method, right? Or perhaps the scientific method can be broadly interpreted outside of simply experiment. It's a position, it's an approach that includes reason, and reason includes. I think the idea of the self-witness is what's really triggering good thoughts in my mind, is that the ability to use tools like journaling and meditation and reading and YouTubing to explore not just the self, but the perspective that allows me to witness the self. What is that perspective? If I can think about thinking, if I can think about myself, what is happening there? And I think that's different from, for example, my dog. Hey, come here. Sit down. Sit down. Are you guys thinking about yourself? Are you? Sit down. Are you being self-reflexive? It's hard to tell, isn't it? I'm going to say yes. The last thing I'll say here then is he ends with 12 exercises, journaling prompts associated with each of the lessons that break up the book. The book is broken up into 12 chapters, each with a title that comes from one of Emerson's essays. And then there are these journaling prompts. And I'm going to take these. I'm going to use 20 minutes each evening, which I typically do today to do a very quick summary journaling. I'm going to use these specific for the next probably 2-3 weeks. And then I'll come back and let you know. I'll do a special YouTube video just on these journaling prompts once I've gone through all of them and kind of summarize it. So I'm going to finish this tea. I haven't broken my fast yet. It's 20 after 10. I'm going to be leaving for church in 10 minutes. I'll come back. Today I might just eat the one meal. My wife is away, and it's less interesting to cook just for myself. So I might have an early dinner, late lunch, and simply have that be my meal for the day. So I just finished score writing, and I realized I hadn't done my Eurovision updates. So I've got my notes from yesterday. Catherine and I watched it. And then actually after we watched the Eurovision, we went and watched Eurovision, the movie, the Will Ferrell movie, which I do like. So let me compare my notes against the final outcomes. The final outcome was Switzerland won, and then Croatia came in second, Ukraine third, France fourth, Israel fifth. So a couple of points that come to mind. I'm going to start with general production. So on Peacock, which is where we watch it in the States, there was no commentary, which I didn't notice until we were in for a bit. I can't remember the name of the channel that started broadcasting it a few years ago, but they had some commentators, and I didn't particularly like them. But I grew up with Terry Wogan in the the 70s, late 70s, and then we left England when I was young, 13, in 1981, the year Bucks Fizz won, which is still peak Eurovision. There was a moment where last night they had a little bit in the middle where they interviewed, or they brought up a woman who had done a lot of choreography, including the choreography for Bucks Fizz, and they showed just a snippet of Bucks Fizz, and it's so good. That's such a good song. It's as good as Waterloo, and there's been nothing better than those two. So, where was I going with that? Oh, so I have no commentary, and I missed it. I'd like to be able to figure out a way to stream the BBC. And is Graham Norton still doing the commentary? He's really nice. I like him. But so that just meant that the show as a whole it was nice, and I liked the hosts who were in Malmo, Peta. But what I think what Eurovision needs is to return to some of the basics of production. They obviously have hired people in the last decade who are phenomenal at staging. All the lights, the motion, the video, whatever it is. It's very good. But it's not necessary, and it gets a bit homogenous, particularly like a solo singer with a coterie of 6 dancers who are sort of miming along. It's all the same, and it's not good. The only time it was good was Portugal. Portugal was my second choice overall. I really liked that song and that singer. And she did some gestures, and then the sort of surrounding dancers seemed to respond, and their motions gave a little bit of a beat that was implied by her vocals, but not there. So it was nice. It was really good. But then everybody has the same. They might even be the same dances, for all I know. I didn't like it. I don't like the miming instruments. I think that's dumb. I really think they should go back to limits on the backing tape, because it just looks like there's no point the way that it is now. I know that makes me sound like a curmudgeon, and I know that now it's been 40 years, more, which is a long time. It just doesn't seem that long to me. And there was something elegant about everybody having an orchestra, and then if they wanted additional instruments, they could play them on the stage. I don't like the backing tracks. I don't like it. So all that is just to start off. What what I thought for the first half hour was that my hearing aid was jacked up. It's like the vocals were so hidden in the mix. So is that me? It's not just me. It's the quality of the broadcast. They need to hire some musicians to work with the team to mix it properly. It sounded awful. I mean, the lights and the flashing was fantastic, but you couldn't hear the singers, and it wasn't. I checked. It wasn't just me. It's disappointing. Now, in my mind, the Eurovision Song Contest should be won by a big ballad, a beautiful big ballad. I thought France was my number one pick for last night. I thought he sang a beautiful song with a beautiful voice. And then Portugal, same thing, beautiful song, beautiful voice. I liked Italy. She had a beautiful voice and a very characterful song. Right? Switzerland I actually had as my number 4 pick. I liked that song all right. And I saw it. I thought that's a winner. So the actual top 4 were Switzerland, Croatia, which I had in my top 10. It was a good song. He was what a Eurovision singer should look like. He presented well, very charismatic, had sort of national elements to it. I think you should be penalized if you sing in English. Unless you're from England. You know, the people who say that will count against you in the votes, then we should change the way we vote. I don't like this global vote thing. It's too unpredictable. You spend an hour hearing Luxembourg calling, which I love. I love that. You know, hello, Helsinki. You get all the votes. And then you know that 5 minutes later it's all going to get fucked up, which in fact is what happened. Ukraine and Israel were very low in the rankings, and rightly so. The Ukraine song wasn't anything special. They've had some really great entries, but this one wasn't. I don't think. And the Israeli entry was pretty, but it was a bit generic. It didn't deserve to be in the top 5. So Ukraine ended up 3rd. I think Switzerland and Croatia, those votes were essentially, the jury votes had them pretty high. I was okay with that. But Ukraine and Israel were flipped entirely by those global votes. And I don't understand how they arrived at. I mean, I could Google it, I suppose. But I don't want to. So then, where else was I? France, Portugal, Italy. I was just Googling because before each of the entries, they had a little snippet with previous entrants from that country. I imagine it was the highest placed entrants from that country. Because Luxembourg, they showed Lara Fabian, who I really like. She has a version of Je suis malade that she sang with Serge Lama a while back. And it's a song I used to listen to a lot when I would be out on the porch with a bottle of bourbon. And she flashed up, and I didn't realize she was a Eurovision. She came in 4th, apparently, in 1988. So I was just Googling that. For next year, I will understand the global scoring. I mean, there's 100 and some countries that can participate. Do they each get, is there like 1,300 points available? There must be, right? Because Israel, Ukraine, Switzerland, they all got 300 points-ish, right? So, France, I thought, deserved a higher position than a 4. Portugal, where's Portugal was number 10. She deserved better than that. Sweden came in number 9. That Swedish song was awful. Garbage. Just two young guys kind of joking around. Armenia, we liked, both Catherine and I liked Armenia. Absolutely charming. And the band that won my where I'd like to go have dinner. I'd like to go hang out with them. They just looked like a ton of fun. Ireland, I couldn't. I'm sorry, maybe I'm too old. I just couldn't understand it. Witchcraft. I don't know. Italy came in 7. Any that I really... So Estonia always starts off in my top 5, even when I don't particularly like the song, which I didn't this year. That's because in 2012, was it Ott Lepland sang a song called Kula, which is not only one of my favorite Eurovision songs, but is kind of one of my favorite songs, period. I had Latvia in my top 10. The guy Don's he deserved to be in the top 10. He wasn't. He ended up being 16th. I liked Georgia. Like, not enough to have her in my top 10, unfortunately, but I thought she was very charismatic and a nice song. If I didn't have the Estonia waiver, she would have made it in the top 10. Norway deserved more than to be the last, right? It was a pretty wild song. She was a good singer. And there's some interesting stuff going on. United Kingdom, I always have to pay attention to United Kingdom since it is the land of my birth. But I thought, so I hadn't prepared ahead of time, so I didn't know the song. And listening to it a few times, it got a sort of pleasant, pet shoppy boy vibe. But my God, that performance was horrible. It looked like they were in a shit-covered toilet. It was like Prickapure. It was horrible. I didn't get it. I didn't understand it. But that's because I'm 56, I think. And a lot of these things I'm not the intended audience. So, they need a hire musician to deal with whatever's going on with the microphones. It's bullshit. They need some kind of restriction on the backing tapes. I would like to go back to the orchestra, at least as an option. I don't like the global votes. I don't understand them. I think if you're going to have global votes, then the entire global vote counts as one 12-point. That would make sense. If you're going to have juries, have the juries. I like the internecine bickering between the Eastern Bloc and this, that, and the other. I like that. It's bullshit, but I like it. Someone has to lose. It should be the UK. That is pretty funny that globally the United Kingdom got 0. Not the politically charged, well, the conflict-charged Ukraine and Israel. But nobody in Eurovision likes the United Kingdom, and they shouldn't, because the United Kingdom sucks. In fact, as they were coming out with it, before they announced a score, I said, we should allow the global points to take away points. If you're going to have them, take them away. Coming in with 0 points was pretty gratifying. Okay, so let me just skip through now my actual song notes. Sweden, unforgivably dull. It looked like The Matrix. Ukraine looked like Rivendell and rap. I thought Germany was nice. I thought he did. He's a singer. He had a character. I noted my wife, she was drinking margaritas. I was drinking sparkling water. The days when I would get through a bottle of Wild Turkey, watch the Eurovision are gone. Luxembourg, I learned that they haven't been in the contest for 30 years, but they were one of the original 5. So I think there's some Maybe there's some research I want to do there. Israel, it was a tough vote. She got a voice, but this is when I started to sense that these were looking a bit homogenous. Formulaic even. That's a problem if Eurovision starts to have a formula, which it does, clearly. Lithuania, I noted here, I can't tell if the sound is off or if it's my hearing aid. They had a bit after Lithuania with Caroline, who was the first Swedish host in 1975. So she's 92 years old. She's great. Spain, I realized in the previews, when everybody meets, they're all carrying chihuahuas, everybody. I don't know. I don't understand the story with the Spanish woman, but I'm imagining she's a Spanish national treasure of some kind. She reminded me of maybe a Spanish Cher. Good and gay burly dudes in corsets. They came in 22nd. I think they deserved better than that. Estonia, we already talked about Estonia, gets top 5 out of the gate. They had, I call them nickel harps. They're not. Later on, someone actually had a nickel harp, and what they had were the bowed harps that you hold and play with your fingers. Ireland looked great coming on in the intro walks, and the chorus was compelling. I wrote, and I liked the synth. I can't argue with the song, but I wished she was singing a different song. I don't know what that meant. Latvia, the bold dude, a proper song with a nice voice, but he was singing in English. Greece, I liked it. High-pitched and Greek, it had some character. The UK, what the fuck, a gay toilet? I don't know. Kind of like the song, but the performance, terrible. Who is Moroccan Oil? I noted Moroccan Oil they have a sponsor? Fuck that. It's a Eurovision. Norway, now that was a nickel harp, so I don't know what they were playing in Estonia. But they were all mimed. Interesting song. Sparse rhythms while she wails ahead with some life to it. I liked that song, but I didn't like it enough to give it any votes. Italy, yes, I liked it. When that had happened, Italy was my number one choice. Noting that, so we were halfway through. Serbia, I wanted to give her more points, but I couldn't. At Serbia, we can't forget. In fact, Contractor, ended up being the woman who announced the results, but we all remember her from singing in Latin a few years ago. Finland, Windows 95. Okay, there's no pants man. I disapprove of the no pants. Plus, at the end of it, he was handing Roman candles. He was handling fireworks. It was just dangerous and is wrong. Yeah, no pants. It wasn't a good song. Portugal, yeah, number 2 in my book. Armenia, yes, I wanted to go. They look very nice, just like a lot of fun. Cyprus, I didn't have a lot to say. Switzerland, okay, I want to hate this, but I kind of love it, is what I said. Yeah. But I said it takes us on a journey, which it did. Noted, he had a Queen Bohemian Rhapsody vibe. It's not really, but it had, because it's only 3 minutes long. But Slovenia. Okay, so someone needed to stand up and say to the producer, "I don't need these singers, these dancers. I'm a singer, and I'm going to strut across it." Could have been her. Without the dancers, I think she would have been a very compelling stage presence. But the Slovenian entry was wasn't any good. Croatia, I approve of his look. The Dame Baby Lasagna is dumb, but the song is good. It's good. He should have felt. I commented after the performance. He should feel pretty good about it, and he came in second, which is great. Croatia, I checked. Usually, when they're in the final, which seems to be not every year. So good for him for getting to the finals. And when they do, they're, bottom of the pack. So good for Croatia. Georgia. I wrote, I want to hear more from her. She may be my favorite singer, but the song was so banal that it shouldn't make it into my top 10. France, good. Boy, he had a beautiful range. He had a nice falsetto that would melt right into his voice. And then towards the end of the song, he stepped back 6 feet from the microphone and belted out the song. So you could hear it. Oh, it was fantastic. So good. And then Austria, We Will Rave. It's catchy, but I don't know. What's the point? So, that's my Eurovision. My Eurovision updates. I didn't do as much this year as I have in the past. And last year I didn't do anything because it was like the week after I'd had brain surgery, so I wasn't in the mood. But I love Eurovision. I love Eurovision.